Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who have registered for this great webinar from different countries and want to witness a great session happening today. First of all, Happy New Year 2023 from AI CoreSpot team to everyone. Hope you and your family are doing safe. Just to let you know that today is the first webinar about the retail sector in US region in the new year from AI CoreSpot. And what a great topic to start the same. It's about leveraging personalization in the retail industry. And we are really excited to host this. Now to begin with, let me introduce myself and the company to you. My name is Nitin Naveen and I'll be your host for the day. I'm working as Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI CoreSpot. I have great experience around a couple of decades in consulting firms dealing in and around the emerging technologies. Further, I've been joined by my colleague Arvind and Naveen, who will also assist me in keeping the event lively and resolving technical glitches if it comes in between. So thanks a lot to them for putting in hard work and making this one a huge success. We'll try to provide a seamless experience to all of you so that you can gain maximum output out of the same. Let me provide a brief background to all of you about AI CoreSpot. We started a couple of years back, backed up by our InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. Our mission is to serve as a hub for information regarding Industry 4.0 technologies. The focus is to provide all of you a deep dive in all the sectors wherever technology is there. And every month we have a separate theme. We are gaining momentum month on month. Our aim is to be #1 AI-driven community all over the world so that like-minded people like you can be a part of the same in supporting, growing, and making it a success. The focus is to do industry-backed webinars and hybrid events. The knowledge base will be made from reliable data through subject matter experts, industry leaders, thought leaders, and our partners, InfoVision and Digit7. We'll enrich the content through a lot of digital channels like content, blogs, videos, podcasts, and newsletters to shed light on the ever-evolving industry. Today, we are having a lovely and unique webinar around the great theme, which lays emphasis on personalization aspect in the retail industry. So if you want to know how to choose amongst personalization teams or tools, challenges for retailers while thinking about personalization, what is the future for personalization, maturity curve aspect of personalization, framework for retailer, and so on, so then you are in the right place. We'll go all over it throughout the panel discussion and give lots of insights to you. There are lots more in store for next month with focus on different technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR, digital twins, metaverse, and quantum computing. So request all of you to go through our website, which is aicorespot.io for future updates. Also, please like our social media handles, which will keep you all updated on everything what we propose to offer in the coming months to follow. So before starting with the day, I would like to highlight a few things so that it can set up the tone for the amazing learning and networking day. Special mention about our knowledge and innovation partner, InfoVision, who has supported us since beginning and provided us the right support to bring the community together. InfoVision is an end-to-end IT and business service provider, specializing in providing technology transformation and innovation projects for over 25 years across multiple industries. And they serve 12 global locations, including US, Latin America, Middle East, and India. They have unique state-of-the-art research and innovation lab named Digit7 in Richardson, Texas, with 5 great innovative products. So to get in touch with them, kindly log on to the website, which is infovision.com, and leave your details through the contact us section. Now moving on and coming to our community partners for today, it includes 3 great companies, Chico's Fast, At Home, and Lowe's companies, who came together to make this webinar a success. Special mention to attendees of the event who registered and came to achieve their objectives through this forum. At the end of the day, if you gain a few things out of this or get to network with each other, our core objective as a platform will be achieved. Further, if anybody wants to ask questions, they can type it in the Q&A section. You can type in as and when the panel member speaks, and we'll try to get it answered as per the time permitted. Now let me hand over the stage to Samir, who is the Chief Business Officer handling retail, consumer, and logistics at InfoVision, and who is the moderator for this panel discussion as well. He's joined by 3 great leaders, Cassie, Director Digital Product Management at Chico Faz, Matthew, Senior Director of Analytics and Optimization at Home, and Tarunam, Director Product Engineering and ML at Lowe's companies. So over to you, Samir, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Nitin. I hope I'm audible to everyone. So thank you very much, first of all, for for being considering me as a moderator with this esteemed panel. I, I'm really, really obliged and privileged to be a part of this discussion. As Nitin mentioned, I take care of the retail consumer and logistics vertical at InfoVision. I have overall 25 years of experience in the retail industry and have done a lot of engagements on the personalization and on the retail side actually. So that I'm really happy to be part of that. I would in at the beginning I would like panel members to introduce themselves. So Casey, I'll start with you if that's okay with you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Cassie Janis. As Nitin and Samir mentioned, I'm Director of Digital Product Management for Chico's FAS. So I manage our acquisition and purchase portfolio, so really focused on our websites. We also have launched 3 mobile apps in the last year for our flagship brands, and have worked in the personalization AI space at previous companies I've worked at in retail. And then it's also a big initiative for Chico's in the next 12 to 18 months for us to kind of sharpen up and accelerate our personalization journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. Matthew, can you go next, please?
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Matt Vermillier. I am the Senior Director of Analytics and Optimization at Home, which is a home decor superstore. We have 260 locations across 40 different states. I oversee the optimization and the analytics team. Prior to At Home, I did 5 years at a consulting company, also specializing in A/B testing, personalization, and analytics. And prior to that, I was at Office Depot Office Max running their personalization program as well.
Thank you, Matthew. Tarunam, if you can go next, please.
First of all, let me start with saying it happy Friday. What a day of start, right? With a happy learning, sharing, and everything. So my name is Tarunam Verma. I'm one of the director of technology for Lowe's, and I'm overseeing overall product engineering, ML engineering for enterprise personalization and customer modernization for that. Prior to that, I have worked with almost 14 digital transformations, and most of the time, the technology change and things we have seen on a similar aspects. So definitely a lot of experience around personalizations, how we have done about it, how we have modernized those applications. So I have worked and happy to share my experience and things in this panel.
Thank you, Tarunam. So, guys, let's start our today's proceedings, and I think personalization is one topic which is very, very close to most of the retailers right now. And coming out fresh from the NRF, which was 2 days back, I met Tarunam there as well from Lowe's, and there was a big team of Lowe's out there, almost like 100 people out there from Lowe's visiting NRF. So coming out of, I saw so many things about personalization at NRF. The kind of, I would say, focus that the retailers are giving on personalization. And I was going through some articles, McKinsey reports, and all those things. So I'm just sharing some data points. So as per one of the Accenture report, it says that 91% of the customers are more likely to shop at the place where they are recognized as their customer. So that's the data point, 91%. It's a staggering number. Also, there was one more on the flip side of it. 45% of the customers left a website because they felt that they were not being recognized and they did not get the right personal or customer experience out there. That's again a big number that I'm looking at. The other pieces that we are saying is what personalization does. 30% of the people actually, or the retailers feel that increases the customer satisfaction, thereby increasing almost like 15 to 20% of their sales conversion rates. That's a typical in things of personalization. And then obviously that there's a 30 to 35% of increase in the employee engagement rates that personalization can get. That these were some data points, some staggering numbers that I wanted to kind of talk to you. But these are some reported numbers. Now I wanted to kind of deep dive into each of your areas and your experiences that you have seen. So what does a personalization means to an organization? And Casey, I'll start with you for the beginning. Because you have done so many implementations, you come from a procurement background, you are trying to implement mobile. What does a personalization mean for your organization, Casey?
Yeah, so I think it's it's really good to get your organization aligned, because personalization can mean a lot of different things up and down the organization. At Chico's, for us, right, and we've built out the way we build our strategy and our vision is what's our North Star. And at Chico's, the North Star is really that one-to-one experience. You know, we
Right.
take from the store experience. If you walk into a fashion retailer such as Chico's, you have a very personal experience with the staff in the store. We also have stylists in the store, and there's a real relationship that's been built there. And with COVID, you know, that had to come online a bit. And so looking at outfitting solutions that help facilitate the team members to have those one-to-one interactions is very important. Now, we also have to maintain some one-to-few interactions, right? So as we look at our websites and our mobile apps, right? Like our technology is going through a major modernization and a transformation right now. So we are still in kind of the one-to-few phase, and that's where we are. And even in some instances, segmentation, whether or not you call that personalization or not. But for us, our North Star is really going to be creating those one-to-one interactions. As you work in different organizations, it could mean different things, right? If I've worked in B2B organizations, and then it becomes 50 different personalization strategies, because each of your businesses that you work with, your clients that you work with, have a different idea of what that looks like. It could be, I just want to solve this one problem with personalization. I want to solve process automation with personalization from an employee perspective. So for us at Chico's, it's really about the customer experience, driving customer lifetime value for them and for us, and really getting to that one-to-one. You know, style is a very personal thing. It's a very nuanced, for many, it's an expression of who they are, an extension of their identity. So getting that right for us is vital to the longevity of our business.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was when I was going through your Chico's site, I think it actually starts with some personalization there itself. 95% women associates, and so that's the title of your like 60% of the female managers out there. That's awesome. Actually, that actually tells how have you structured out there. Coming from Casey to I'll go to Tarunam. Lowe's, we all know. So we want to understand. I know you do a lot of personalization. I'm a personal customer of Lowe's. So what exactly is personalization for you?
See, in simple terms, if you ask me, right, in layman, and I think this is my third company where I'm doing customer modernization and personalization from that perspective. So I picked up this thing almost a decade ago. So one of the things which I have seen it, if you ask me in simple terms, like as you have already hit that nail, right? First of all is to identify and know the customer. That is very much important. Anytime when you come, knowing your customer is the most important part. And then the second part which it needs to be solved, and that is where the technology comes and help it out, is understanding their needs. What they are looking, when they are looking, and providing that relevant experience in a very seamless omni-channel world. Because with COVID and pandemics, one of the things which have happened is that people start a lot of things from stores or mobile, and they land up in a totally different channel. So providing that seamless integration, that experience, that they are feeling like that that is meant for them itself, a unique one-on-one hyper personalization. If you say in technology terms, what it means, what my panelist Casey has mentioned, that one-on-one interaction is what is the main thing. Just to give an analogy on that side, think from the perspective, I will say, for me, the personalization will be more towards, I used to give this example in a lot of different places, like you go in high-end tailored shop. The way moment you enter, right, the first thing what they will ask about it is the preferences, context, fabric, sleeve length, things around it, through which they know you. Second aspect which you put it out, the moment you go second time on it, they exactly know out of 3 suits which are the one you wanted to select, and you will go for it. So that is the kind of replication, that journey, what you see there is what in today's world with most of the retailers, they are trying to replicate on the site. The only thing in this case is now it is instead of having one customer and thinking of few on it on local site, now the scale is of millions of customers. So that is where technology comes in, help it out from that perspective to go. At end, I wanted to just feel like, okay, if I go somewhere, I'm being recognized. They already know what I'm looking for it, and they are helping me and supporting me and flexible enough to give me that experience what I'm exactly looking. I'm not going for a treasure hunt and things around it.
Thank you. So I heard the apparel, I heard the home improvement, and then I'm going to the other side of the home improvement. So Matthew, over to you. Because you joined At Home very recently, and you have had experience in the past, both from other side of the world, the consulting side of the world, as well as the retailer side of the world. So what have you seen actually, and what does personalization mean from you on both the sides?
Yeah, so I'll kick it back to a stat that you threw out there. 91% of customers like the site when they're recognized. So that to us is huge. I would say that's really our North Star. We refer to our customer as she and her, and she's behaving as such, and she likes shopping this way. So that's the personalization at the level. Everyone in the customer in our organization knows that and focuses and hones in on that persona. And I think Casey said it really well. Like the customer life cycle is really where we focus. How do we make a one-time customer shopper a two-time customer shopper? That's personalization. How do you get somebody that's normally brick and mortar retail customer to be an online shopper? Because we know once they're omni-channel that their value of them is much greater. So that's our focus. Another thing at home is we have a very large loyalty program. The vast majority of our purchasers are loyalty members already. So we have that information and we leverage it to give out certain incentives. Know when their birthday is. We give a very nice incentive at an annual basis for loyalty members, and we message that as such when they come to the website. So those small, subtle hints of personalization is what we strive to be.
So, again, I will touch base a little bit more on the. I know there is no grocery retailer out here, but I was actually reading an article on the grocery retail side. Since I'll touch base on the grocery side, because that is one area that was a very defragmented and not personalized, but that's the where we are seeing a lot of personalization happening out there. So again, I'm just filling the gap because we have specialty retailers out there. We have all kind of retailers out there, but grocery is one thing which I just want to kind of touch base on that as well. Now coming back to the apparel and apparel side of the world, or the fashion retailer side of the world, Casey, I went to Sephora recently. Again, that's not a fashion, but that's a different kind of thing. The kind of personalization that they offer at Sephora is amazing. You can actually use the mobile app. So again, there are multiple channels. I'll be in touch about the channels of or personalization, but you can actually book an appointment for getting the makeup or just an experimental makeup done at Sephora, and then they actually capture every single makeup that you had, that the person, the cosmetic that the person has used, what exactly was used, and you can refer to that and all those things. So from that, I'll touch base on the other side, which is a Japanese retailer called Uniqlo. Now, Uniqlo is another place where they actually have a wearable, I would say, devices on your eyebrows, and they actually recognize the emotions of your at that time that you are carrying, and then based on your emotions, your behavior, they suggest the clothings for you. So those are two extreme of I would say, how do you identify the customer? How do you identify? How can you make a sale, or you can enable a sale out there? So, Casey, I'm just trying to come back to you with my question. What have you seen that in your area in Chico Fast on that side?
So in our side, we have a fair amount of clienteling. We call it clienteling that we do, and it's that's similar of like, I have a stylist, whether it's what we call social stylist online or in the store, and she will put together outfits for our customers. And then that becomes part of your profile, right? She can reach out to you. She can share those outfits with you. We are trying to integrate that a little bit more into our end-to-end systems. And then we've just recently launched mobile apps this almost a year ago now, in last February. So that is opening the gamut for us as far as personalization goes, right? It's loyalty in your pocket. Matthew spoke about the loyalty program. You know, we have a huge loyalty program. We have amazingly loyal customers. I've never seen anything like it. The amount of money some of our most loyal customers spend is amazing and incredible. But now we're bridging the digital and physical. And I think, you know, from our perspective, being able to not just personalize putting a product in front of her, but being able to personalize, I think you would like these services, or here's content, right? We have blogs, we have that, so that it becomes the conversions of content, services, product, and commerce. And how do you do that in a mix that makes sense for your customer or her? So I think that's where we are in Chico's looking at that. And I'm an Ulta fan. I use Ulta, not Sephora, but I imagine it's the same. So you look at those types of experiences, and those are definitely probably best in class from the market.
And a related question, Casey, to you. Where do you think the current retail industry is in the maturity curve of personalization right now?
I personally, so this is opinion. Everybody can disagree with me, as I expect you to. I think that we're still in like this brands to few. I think a lot of segmentation is happening. I think we put names on emails and say it's personalization, which to me, that's like table stakes. We could do that 10 years ago. So I think we're still, you know, best case, maybe predictive in the maturity curve, right? But then you look at like the big data, the big companies, right? You look at the Walmarts of the world, you look at like an Instacart. Amazon obviously is like light years ahead of all of us in this. They've been doing this forever. And I think that they're going to flip. Google even is getting into the retail space, right? They're offering a white label personalized search solution. So I think that there's going to be a tipping point in the next year or two that accelerates us to be, okay, we're leveling the playing field and all getting into a predictive space of like, someone comes, I know what they're trying to look for. I can put the right stuff in front of them. So that's kind of, I think we're kind of in the middle, headed for a tipping point. What I'm excited about is like, how do you get prescriptive, right? How do you let people know what they don't even know they're looking for, right? How do you put in front of them things of like, ooh, I love that. I had no idea. I never would have thought I could wear that type of sweater, or grocery, to your point, right? That type of food, right? Like, or that brand. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see. So I'd say we're in like the middle of the curve today.
I'll flip the same question. In fact, I'll ask the same question to Tarunam. And Tarun, I'll start with you, and then I'll go over to Matthew. So where do you think we are? And Matthew, probably I'll ask you the next question after that is, how do we begin if we are not there? So Tarun, I'll start with, go ahead first, Tarun. Where do we think we are?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky question if you ask me on this, and it depends on which domain you are talking about it. And personalization definition also differs from each of the domains when it goes, right? If I am a magazine company which is looking for a content, their personalization definition is much more towards content and user from that perspective. Moment you were giving a very similar example of Sephora. I have been with Macy's for some time in my past. So we have done a lot of things where I have seen how this beauty kits and things which they build up. With Lowe's home improvement area, it's totally different. Like from your pro versus DIYs, how things actually go for it. So if you ask me, another example, which great you have given it for grocery, Kroger's of the world. They are one of the gold standards on how they recognize a customer and what kind of experience they give about it, right? And that is important from them from grocery perspective, because think from the perspective, if I'm looking for a milk, for me, the research will be maximum, okay, I will see 3 different things in the freezer in the shelf, done. Because it's not expensive. The moment I go appliances, the moment I go big ticket items, it changes. You need more research. And that is where I feel from personalization perspective, a lot of things retailers are focusing on those perspective to go. From maturity curve, I will say instead of saying it where we are on the retail, I will put it out more that what are the different stages which each company has so that they can recognize where they are actually going for it. Like static. I have all predefined data. I am looking for the things. I know this person has a household and things around it. And based on that, I'm putting it out. Another example is say that based on a profile, they say, hello, Tarunam, or something from that perspective to come. Third becomes behavior. Oh, I know this person. Every time he comes, he's looking for this LG brand. He's looking for these things. I know the affinities around it. I'm now using some loaded terms here, but just think from the perspective affinities is like every time I come, I know for sure that these are the things which I'm using it. So that analytical angle which comes analyze. And another aspect I will say in this is specifically this behavioral data. Previously, like 2 decades back, if somebody have told that product data, assortment and things, that is where the most of the focus was. But with these smart devices, with these iPhones and Androids of the world, this has drastically changed. Now you have ton of customer data where you have to make senses on this. So this behavioral aspect becomes very important. And this is one of the, I think I will say hump in most of the retail industry where when they cross it, that is where they make or break the things about it from process perspective, optimization perspective to go. And then not the then the last thing in this is more kind of a cohort or a prescriptive or hyper personalization. There are multiple terms people use about it, but at end of the day, what it means is I know you very well. I know your needs, and before you even think about it, I can help you to have this one-on-one interaction and experience to give it to you. Think from the perspective I have to change my filters every time. Instead of me going every 3 months, if I can just send it out an email as a reminder, that makes the smile to that customer saying it, oh, these people know me very well. That is where I'm going to get it. So I think from maturity curve perspective, it is entirely depends where you go, and not every industry is suited for everything. Like hyper personalization may be great for some of the dot coms, but some of the marketing worlds of it, there might be a different aspects on how they see this. So that is where I will say it's a kind of how you go with each domain, but at end the maturity will depend on these 3 steps on how where you see yourself from that perspective.
Thank you, Dharanam. That is good. Very, very insightful, actually. Jumping over to Matthew. Matthew, I would request you to comment on this particular piece, and then probably next part of the question is how do we begin? What is the journey? Where do we start?
Yep. I would agree with Casey. I think we're in the middle, maybe early middle of the maturity curve for personalization. If you think about Amazon, if I was to pull up my Amazon homepage, you guys would know entirely too much about me. And that's can be scary, but sometimes it can be easy for me to pick things like I need cat food for my cat. I can easily get it from the homepage and they can recommend that for me. I would say at home, we take a crawl, walk, run approach to it. I would say we're maybe about to stand up from crawling and start walking is probably where we're at. Um, and how do we get started? To your second question there, how did we get started, and how would I recommend getting started? If personalization can be very overwhelming and it's a huge undertaking and it's like a culture shift for most companies that take it on. For us, we started with the data. We didn't want to just personalize just to say, hey, we're personalizing. We wanted to actually solve a customer problem. So we identified friction points in our user's journey. We look at web behavior. We use that data to solve some type of problem and not just say, hey, we're just going to personalize for personalization's sake. So we start with the data. We have a very strict testing methodology. So our personalization team sits with the optimization team, which sits with the A/B testing program. And so everything that we are personalizing gets tested through that team, and it sits very close with the data team. And I think one of the best ways to get started, if you haven't even thought about personalization or you want to try it, is start simple. For us, we started with new versus repeating customers. What should a new customer see versus a repeat customer? And can you just have a welcome back message? Is it that simple to get somebody to feel like, oh, I've been here before, I have that warm feeling? Then you can move into targeting by customer life cycle. Maybe they're a first time purchaser, second time purchaser, or maybe you consider them a VIP customer, and what should they get differently at that point? Then you can get into personas. We're starting to get into certain shopping styles. So think of at home decor. Your house probably has some type of style. Maybe it's traditional, maybe it's farmhouse, maybe it's modern. And we know that certain products fit that bill. So as you navigate the site and you're looking at certain things, we can start leveraging that web behavior and personalize towards a certain style. So those are the things that we're getting into. And then everyone has that Amazon dream of being true one-to-one personalization, like Casey said. And that's probably running at that point.
Wonderful. So I'll jump onto the next side of things. So I said, how do we start personalization? But I just want to check with you. What is the data point that you're using for capturing so that you can go for the segmentation and the personalization strategies beyond that? So I'm just sharing some data points. So the data that is being used right now, this is as per the 2021 survey. Purchase history is being used for 94% of the time. Email activity is being used for 88% of the time. Matthew, you mentioned website behavior. That's being used for 72% of the time. Mobile actions, what we do on the mobile side, is being used 67% of the time. And the point of sale system, that is being used only 42% of the time. So that's the data, I think most of the retailers, and this is data across 450 retailers that participated in its survey. So again, this is just some of the data points that we use. Now, as we mentioned, the first starting point for any kind of personalization is capturing the right data. And obviously, the second thing, which I think all of you mentioned, is how do we work together? How do we break the silos of an organization? How do we look at the same data points across all the areas, whether it is a promotion team, whether it is marketing team, whether it is merchandising team, whether it is I'm just saying from that perspective. So so on that side, again, I'll start from Taranam, from you. What kind of data do you capture? How do you kind of move that data? How do you do the segmentation and all those things? So again, without going into too much of details, if you can touch base a little bit upon what you have seen, again, through Lowe's, your Macy's experience and all those things, that would be very awesome. Awesome, please.
I mean, I think it's a good prospect what you have put it out in, with the numbers which you have given. And frankly speaking, if 7 or 8 years back, the way we were looking from these data perspective was that, okay, I pick purchase history, I pick few things on the emails, I pick few things on how the person is engaging. You will get it those data and you will start working with this, and you will create some kind of algorithmic way to deterministically define whether this person wanted to do something, whether this person has inclination toward these categories or purchases or things around it. But in today's world, as you mentioned on the other part, right, that is where I wanted to focus. In today's world, with this stream of data, right, whether it's third party, Matthew was speaking about it. In our cases, I have seen in most of the Fortune 100 companies which I have worked from the perspective, they have ton of third party data. What kind of insurance you get, right? What kind of things you are putting it out. We get about household types, what are the things you are looking from that, a high level margin of your locality on where you are spending, what is the locality spent from that perspective. And then and that is first your third party data, which is more kind of you are deterministically defining that these are the things, and there are hundreds of it. Then second category which comes about it, how you are interacting with each of these channels, like specifically what you mentioned about mobile, email, marketing, having that unified view so that you can make an insightful things around it is very important. That is where your ML data science becomes much more a bigger tool for you to come to it. Specifically the ML models, 7 years back, a lot of models was getting developed, but in today's world, a lot of models are already been in the market. So a lot of companies can utilize these models, come up with a more statistical analysis and come up and say that, okay, these are the things I'm looking and this is how these signals are going to converge. The second aspect is how your customer is interacting with your channel. And third and the most final part, and that is where the things become more on that side, is now you have, for us, most of the time I have seen we land up in more than 300 or 400 different data fields, like what you are explaining, purchasing. Now to eyeball terabytes or petabytes of this data with a human, it's not possible. So that is where I will say that ML models, your data science, statistical distribution, and those things come and help you from that perspective, that this is how we wanted to go and solve these problems. That's most of the time I've seen. And then the final thing, what happens is, once I have how I can make these things at scale. Because one important aspect is, if I'm dealing with 100 customers or 10 people and I have to suggest, it's easier that, okay, I can still crunch the data and get what it. But think about the thing that you have to make millions calls and you have to process and crunch that data within milliseconds, and then you have to process. So I think for me, if you ask me, the three different stages comes around it is more how much, like, what is the data capturing framework is important, how you are identifying, how you are getting insights out of it. That is one part. Second aspect is how you are processing that data and making it more meaningful for you to actually start engaging with your customer. And third is how are you thinking to scale this particular data specific to personalization to make it more useful. At the end, if you have a data, you have a result, but you cannot scale, then there is no point. Or think in this term, there is another term people will say and throw on these terms as near real-time models, online models, offline models. So what happens is, I remember one example, I will share it. There was somebody who I got an appliance for my new home, and I was searching something in a lot of different sites. So I was getting a lot of emails, promotions around it. After I searched for almost 2 months, three or the four companies still keep bugging me about the aspect that, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? That is where your thing also needs to be balanced, where you are not overdoing these things, where you are understanding the trigger points, where the data is not stale. You are acting on a very intelligent and relevant data is most important. Because if you overdo personalization, then you are going in the space where some of the customers might not
No,
like.
we'll lose the customer actually at that point in time, because customer feels that they are not, it's an old and stale data, and we are not tracking them. So thank you. And Casey, I'll come to you. So on the journey of personalization actually right now. So where are you in terms of all those things that we discussed, like data collection, segmentation, and how do we do that? Yeah.
So at Peapod Digital Labs, and then coming into Chico's as well, data also includes your product data. So, right, you've got your customer profile, purchase history, behavioral. I've seen major failures on the product data side. So how can you even marry up a product to behavioral customer data if that data is not clean, right? And now when you're looking at grocery, like, the amount of data is like unbelievable. The amount of products, the amount of brands they go through, it's all driven by, like, allocation and planning. So how they're making purchases, contracting. So there's just a lot of data to manage. So and then at Chico's, right, we just have very antiquated systems. And so there's just not a lot of data on the product. And so we are partnering with solutions that allow for enrichment of that data through computer vision, deep tagging, attribution, right? There's no way our small emergent team could go through and do this. But then there needs to be supervision. So data for sure is where I would start. I would also back it up a little bit and say, what are the moments that matter? What are my use cases that matter? Because I can dump all my data in a data lake, and then I could say I'm going to use it all. But at the end of the day, all these companies have budgets and resource constraints. So I think you need to identify your use cases. What's the data and feature set you want in your model that will drive value in your model? And then that's the data you need to really work on cleaning, making accessible, and democratizing for these solutions. So, we had to build a whole infrastructure pipeline at Peapod to do what Tarunam was talking about of like, how do you get this to work and repeat it and get it out to all the systems, right? As we think about composable architectures, which is what we're trying to do at Chico's FAS, and we will do in the next year. Just making sure, right, it's not just your customer data. Now, maturity curve for us, right? I see very few people using point of sale data because it's really hard to do. Peapod, they were working on that and they were actually getting that into a consolidated kind of history. Chico's right now, right, we have a customer profile centralized and built. We look at purchase history, and then we look at, you know, contextual clickstream, what's she doing data. So I think that that's kind of where we are today. Now, if we could get point of sale in there and know what she's doing in store, I think that's where mobile app data is going to serve us in making that a little bit stronger. But that's where we are today. And I would totally align with like the stats you gave on like, yep, point of sale is probably like very, very rarely used or integrated, because I think it's hard. It's an investment to get that data out of the systems.
No, absolutely. And Casey, I actually deliberately missed 2 points. So after the POS data was the third party data, which I think Tarunam mentioned. And the last one was the sales associate data. That is also 37% of the that's the data being used across. And the sales specific data, I'll give you 2 examples. And Matthew, then I'll come to you. I'll give you 2 examples. One is I was working with the Neiman Marcus, again, on the apparel, on the fashion luxury retailer side, I would say. So they are also using the sales associate data while they capture all the data out there, because most of the customers that walk into that particular place are high-end, high-profile customers. And it's very important that the sales associate map each and every person and give them the. So we actually were working on an app which is like shows the salesperson so if let's say Tom Hanks walks in, and this is a real life story. Tom Hanks walks in and they know what exactly is he looking for. They provide all things to him about what exactly is available, what can they do. They tailor the selection for him. So they do all those kind of. So that's the sales associate data that I'm talking about. And similarly, I'll give you the other example of it is the which I think you would have seen it, a fuel pay. When you go to a gas station, you have a loyalty there also. Whether it's a Shell, whether it is 7-Eleven, whether it is BP, you have a loyalty program. Now, the whole idea is how do you cross-sell to the customers? Let's say if I'm going to a gas station, how do I get offers for what is there in the convenience store? And vice versa. Let's say if I go into the convenience store and pick up, they want to say, oh, you know, if you buy these 3 items, you'll get 5 cents off on the gas. Those are some of those, because that's the personalization that they're going to the next level. Actually, this person, if he is there at the gas station, he would like a free cup of coffee. So they will offer a free cup of coffee to them. And that's most of the, like if you drive through any of the 7-Eleven stores or any of those things, that's the model. So again, those are some of those things that I found out in other formats of retail as well. Now, Matthew, coming back to you, I will start with you, and then probably Matthew, I'll also ask a question where you can probably dwell. There are 2 aspects of I would say personalization, and I'm talking about the execution part of it. One is how do you execute within the stores, and second is how do you execute it online to all the B2B and B2C customers. So Matthew, first, where are you on the journey, and then how do you execute that part?
Yep. Thank you. As far as where we're at with the journey, so the product data, I think Casey talked about, we also probably struggle with. Also are in the journey of looking at tools to help supplement that data. We are actually incorporating our point of sale data, our retail transactional data into our website's product recommendations. So that's one of our core personalization aspects at home is utilizing product recommendations as our personalization tactic. There was a stat that came out of NRF actually. 40% of Home Depot's revenue comes from product recommendations. Now, at home is nowhere near that, but we're striving to get more and more of our product recommendations to be more accurate real time, right? So product data is a key to that, making sure you have the right levers to pull on that product data to make sure that the recommendations make sense. And we actually are lucky that we have that point of sale data in there feeding that, because overwhelmingly the retail, the brick and mortar side of our business has way more transactions than our e-com side. So having that data is extremely valuable to us. And then we're obviously using just the real-time contextual data. So one of the questions in the chat here I'll go into real quick is, what is the future trends in personalization of retail? How can retailers prepare for them? I think personalization is going to be more context-based, meaning if you land on a page from a social media platform, you can use that social trigger to personalize content on that page. If you land on a product detail page that's apparel based or makeup based, you know that, and you can make recommendations based on that real-time context. There's this thought of a cookie apocalypse terminology going out there. I don't think there'll be a cookie apocalypse. I think cookies are here to stay, and the future of personalization will just become more based on what's happening in real time and not so much on all that purchase data and previously purchased data. To your next question is, what does it look like in action? What does it actually do? So for me, I think it's easy. It's based on the content. Everything that the personalization team is doing behind the scenes, you could have the world's perfect model. The data science team could have an affinity score that says this person 99% for sure is going to purchase a chair. And they come to the website and you show them a piece of content that has a chair on it, but it's not appealing, or the content doesn't have the right terminology to it. So everything comes down to that execution of what that content's going to be. For us, if you think about a homepage, for example, you can have a dozen pieces of content on there and it can quickly become overwhelming to personalize all that content. So we like to take it very slow. Let's just say, take a homepage hero, for example. You have one segment, a return buyer, and you can personalize based on a category affinity. That's like the level of personalization we're getting into. So back to the content, I think is probably the hardest part of the personalization journey, is ensuring that your content matches what the data is saying. And again, your data science team could have a perfect model, but if the content when they get to the website doesn't make sense, then it's not going to work out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matthew. So coming to Tarunam, for example, you have a pretty strong online and pretty strong retail. So what are the things that you're using in store to enable the personalization? I'm just talking about from, let's say using an RFID or sending out, I would say, beacons, using beacons and sending out messages for that one, to I would say anything else that you're using in the stores. And for that matter, when I come to Casey, I'll talk a little bit more about, are you using things like Magic Mirror, which Macy's was using, and I think Tarunam knows about it. So are you using something like Magic Mirror or an interactive fitting room, or let's say smart and social mirrors? That's the same thing. But are you using that on, and Tarunam, you can actually put in your Macy's hat at some time and Lowe's hat on some time. What are you doing in the stores basically to enable that kind of personalization?
So I think let me just a little bit recap one of the metrics which you are sharing, and that is important aspect for the new retailers and people who are coming, right? Specifically at enterprise level, you have a lot of resources when you go with the Fortune 100 companies and things around it. But specifically when you say POS, right, store data, 47% usage. It's not that the data is not available. And today, if you ask me, drawing a pipeline, putting it in a database, it's not big thing.
Very easy.
There are a lot of cloud technologies, people who can partner and give you that. The problem what comes in is the complexity of that data. To make sure that I can understand that data and I can stitch together a strategy out of it. That is where these usage of these data becomes very tough. Simple example I will give you. You have in 7 or 8 years back, the POS systems, when you go, it was a simpler transaction. If I have a transaction, because of the privacy and things around it, I don't know about anything about this customer. What I know, somebody bought something. How that data is going to be connected back to make sure that when the person is coming the second time and third time, how I can utilize it? Is there a way I can figure it out things, or I can utilize that local geo-local kind of matrices to come is important. That is where this 47% sometimes I feel is because of the complexity which it brings. Now, to your
True,
point,
absolutely right.
in stores, in new world, right, which comes about it, a lot of companies that like Macy's, Lowe's, specifically Lowe's, they have advanced lot of things where these POS systems are now smart enough. They have capabilities where they process a lot of data, and like beacons, signals, click streams, whatever you put it out, these datas are getting streamed out from the perspective to understand what are the sales pattern for specific local areas. I will give you a small example. This is one POS, you go for it, right? The Wi-Fi routers which you have in stores these days, if you actually combine it with your geolocals, where somebody have a pickup in store, right? Moment he crosses the geofencing. Generally, this term is used that when you are 2.5 mile or 1.5 or zero point 0.5 mile away from me, I will let the associate know that hey, Tarunam is coming, pick up his stuff, bring it in the front desk, so that it's easy journey for him. But at the same time, that particular data along with your Wi-Fi can be utilized for personalized offer local to it. I know you have a brand affinity specific to a Samsung. You are looking for an appliance. Why not at the moment you reach it out there, and if I know there is a discount or some promotion going on one of your favorite models which you were looking, which is part of your something online journey, in that store, I can utilize that data, give you that personalized experience, that relevant experience, and that deal seeking profile data from that perspective to give you that, okay, this is looking for this item, do you want to have it? So this is where I will say the future of the stores, if you ask me, will go where it will not be only confined to the data which is on the POS stores and things around it. And another factor which you put it out, associates, right? Associates also play an important role. In Macy's, we already, I think, Casey, what you were discussing about few of the things from the trial perspective, and it is one of the things which we have done, and I have supported those applications from that perspective. So it is very important that how to mimic that associate intelligence, because he or she is having that experience. He has gone through 25 years of millions of customers, understanding it, what are the things they look. If a person select this fabric, what is the next style they are putting it out, they know these attributes. So having those data, collecting from them is also important. So to your point, Samir, I will say it's in stores. I see a future where these application and devices, more smart devices will come in, where it will make the journey for the customer more easier. And in Lowe's, these are the modernization we are doing. Another aspect I will give you is AR VR, where augmented reality, right? Now there is another concept of having AR stores. At your home itself, you can access the store, shop it, each and everything from that perspective, and to go for it. This NRF, when you go, there are a lot of ripples around it, that hey, how the people are looking. And that is where I see with these physical stores, hybrid models, online store, these things all coming together will push retailers to their edge to make sure that they are understanding these customers data properly, associating with the right product data, because product is also not clean. To Cassie's and Matthew's point, every time I go in taxonomy, I've managed merchandising and vendor data from that. I will tell you, in one of the cases, we were looking for a table as one of the images, and the images which we received was a dinosaur software. So that happens. But can I build something from the perspective to make sure that these kind of things I can automatically detect? Yes, that is where this technology helps. So to your point, I think at this moment I will say we should not see these in silos at this moment. This is a connected world where we have to consider the data which is coming from online, how that can help the store, the data which is coming from store, how that can help the online. And third, we are still, I think, I see a lot of this AR VR, the more it becomes sophisticated, where instead of those bulky glasses, people
Headsets, yeah.
will have some kind of those. If you remember, I remember those a movie of Tom Cruise called Minority Report. And I was like, oh man, that is crazy. So that is what I see, like a simple glass. People put it out, pointing with their hands. They can just purchase it and done. So that's the world which I think at this moment we are going towards.
Absolutely. Thank you. Casey, I'll come to you with the same point of view because it's an apparel industry, very different. And then probably we'll jump into the technology. I'll cover two more points actually, the technology aspect, and we'll touch upon the question one of the person has asked. Casey, you can start with that question also. How AI can solve many existing problems the retailer face in enhancing customer loyalty towards their brand. So we can start with your area first, Casey, and then jump onto the technology aspect of it. And we'll probably close it. We are here nearing the close, but we'll close it with the challenges, the privacy issues, and all those things, and how do we overcome that, and what's the future for us. So Casey, over to you, please.
Sure. So how can AI solve existing problems in enhancing loyalty? So I think AI, right? So the way that we're looking at AI at Chico's is how can we make our teams more efficient, right? And then that allows them to focus on, I call it the magic. I heard this in a talk once and it really resonated with me, right? You have your technology and your models underlying, but then there is a level of supervision that comes in and talent that I have yet to see AI replicate perfectly, so to speak, right? To Taranum's point, like you get a dinosaur baseball or whatever instead of what you're looking for. And trust me, that's happened in grocery often. So I think that the way AI can help is freeing your team up, right, from an automation perspective to look ahead, especially in like the customer service area. I think this is a huge one with chatbots, and you look at that type of technology, like how can I kind of path customers more easily? And then the data attribution in products, right? How can I enrich my data without hiring an army of merchants to do that, or data entry people to do that? And then I think ultimately the way AI can really enhance your loyalty is your marketing side, right? Like I don't even have to write a rule to tell you to send this offer, right? Like I know that you're apt to buy from us in this timing because I have a model that's looking at your frequency and how often you buy from us and when you last purchase and how much you spent. And then I think you're ripe. If I give you a $5 coupon right now, I bet you'd come to our site or you'd go into a store and purchase, right? So I think that there are just ways to make your business more cost effective and efficient, right? Like, and so that's kind of where I see a lot of value for these mid-sized small retailers to be able to compete with the Amazons, the Krogers, the Walmarts of the world, right? It's competitive and it's really hard because they have a ton of money, they have deep pockets, and they're always in your face a bit. And so giving them kind of that, oh, you knew that I was going to need something, or right, like we have a lot of event-based shopping. So Mother's Day and Easter are big for us. Valentine's Day is big for us, right? New Year's Eve, right? So when you think about how for us, a woman shops her apparel, right? You can kind of feed models, and models can automatically kind of, you test the model, right? You let it run on its own for a few, and then you tell it, no, you're wrong. And then it learns. Like it's incredible, and it's incredibly efficient. So that's where I see value coming out of AI and machine learning for businesses moving forward.
I have a couple of more data points, and probably I'll open it for Matthew and Taranum also. So I also saw some things to do with like what we call as an offer send time optimization. Basically, what it says is sending at the right time when sensing that this, as you mentioned, Casey, sensing that this person is here to buy something out here, which is, let's say, we know some of the options out there. So sending the offer at the same time. So that's called I was reading about it. That's for send time optimization, which we implemented. Also, we also call few more sophisticated strategies were the dynamic pricing based on the inventory levels. So I think that was another AI-based algorithm that I was able to kind of, we were able to implement out there. And then I don't know whether we have been able to implement something to do with the AI, something like real-time data influencers. in the sense like there's this data influencers is a big trend that is going on right now. Is there a way that we can send something with this real-time data influencer or something to do with that? So those were some things which I thought I have seen AI/ML being in use for such of these areas, but these are the technology. So I'm assuming that David, who you asked this question on the AI side, I believe it was answered to you. In case if you have anything else, please feel free to write more details out there. But Tarunam, I'll open to you for the technology, and Matthew, open to you for technology as well. And then we'll jump on to the challenges, the privacy aspect. And I'll also bring up one very important point, which is like humanization versus dehumanization kind of stuff. And I'll tell you why I felt that, because I have been talking to so many retailers out there. There is a divide which says we want customer to be dealt with our sales associate, whereas we are all implementing some AI based algorithm which is like dehumanizing that part. So we'll touch upon that. But Matthew, over to you, and Taranum, over to you for the technology aspect or the AI aspect of things, please.
So I think if you, sorry, Matthew, I'm just going up and then I will put it out on this. So just I wanted to clinch that thought what I think Samir was putting it out. Like a human aspect, right? Personalized chats are one of the things which I think at this moment we have to be careful. Like I will give you one incident of my friend, Chat GPT. You have heard about this name a lot, right? These days it has made a lot of splash. One of my friends' son actually asked to solve a Python code which he was got an assignment in college, and Chat GPT did well job on it. Now the problem what happens here, the intelligence is, to your point, how much it has to be humanized, how much it has to be dehumanized. That is one aspect. Also we have to see the ethical boundaries, but I will put it in a different way, that whether we like it or not, with the new knowledge economy, the democracy of this data, the boundaries where the world has become one, right, from knowledge perspective, this is one of the things which is coming, that irrespective of whether you make it or not, but these things will, like ChatGPT, no one was thinking about it. I will tell you another aspect to it. Google had a similar thing called Lambda, which they were using it, and they never GA it. But ChatGPT utilized a similar framework on the white paper, and they came up with a better version of it, right? So it entirely depends that this thing is coming. So there will be some ethical boundaries which we have to think through it, where we wanted to humanize versus dehumanize. But coming back to your previous, like AI and how personalization can work it out, I think few of the topics which already I think Cassie has covered, like affinity models, propensity scores, lead score, that when I'm sending out any of the emails from that perspective, how can I make sure that the timings are correct? How can I put it out those things? Personalized offer. When I'm looking for an offer, that offer should represent. You are giving me a 15%, and I'm not even thinking of going outside. Let me give you a simple example which has happened to me. Uber Eats, and when during the COVID, they were offering me a few of the things where you will get a percentage off when I visited any of the restaurants. I'm not even going out. That there is no point even sending out those things to me. For me, that becomes more kind of intrusions, right? That, hey, I'm not looking for these notifications. I will land up in muting those notifications to go for it. So I think one of the most important aspects is to understand there will be a lot of use cases to go. And one challenge I will give it more towards people should think about it, specifically when we are in big retail organizations. Your stakeholders are also important. Educating them about the personalization is very important, specifically the business side of it. You understand the technology side, product side of it, but if those people are not able to understand that, hey, what does affinity mean? How is this automation is going to help? If you give them those use cases, explain them those things, that is where it will bring more, help from that one. And that is where AI ML specifically from that perspective helps a lot. There are a ton of models. I can throw a lot of names here if you ask me, but most of it, what it converts it, can I go and have a one single definition where there are I will tell you, I have met 10 different stakeholders. With then those 10 different stakeholder personalization definitions, there were 100 different definitions I got. So that is a reality where you get, and that is where you have to start educating from those perspectives, that how can I make these journey easy.
Correct.
Matthew, to
Thank
you.
Yeah, I'll briefly touch on the AI thing, and I'll use a kind of a famous example that you may have heard of. Is Target got into a little bit of trouble a number of years ago. There was a father that started getting coupons for baby diapers. Their propensity score from Target targeted their daughter with baby diapers because they thought she was pregnant or going to be pregnant. So that was a famous example out there, and that's where you got to watch out on the ethical side and some of the propensity models and humanizing it. So we're not there yet at home. I think, you guys gave me a bunch of ideas. The dynamic pricing based on inventory is one that I would love to do it at home. But that's a little bit out for us. On the technology side, I think everyone probably struggles with the do you build versus buy technology to solve these personalization solutions. And I think you need to do both. I think you need to have the culture internally. You need that education system that you just talked about, but also the right tools in place, and pick your battles, right? So there's some really great tools out there on the product recommendation side. There's probably 100 different options out there. On like the content management side, the personalization side, there's things like Kibo, Optimizely, all the A/B testing tools, Annotate. You need something like that, as well as the team in-house to be able to build a program like this, and then the culture of your company needs to back that. So I hope that answers the technology question. Is what do you build, where do you buy? You need to do kind of both there.
Got it. Thank you.
One more
Yeah,
thing
go
I
ahead.
will just add, Samir, to your point. I think what you brought is one thing these days we all are also trying to think of it. These days, within the videos, right, like social influencers
Yep.
or the people around it, I think this TikTok there is a kind of a YouTuber or a TikTok person from that perspective. There is a lot of ways where in real time these things also are getting where people can buy it. And in social commerce specifically, this has become a big trend. So
Big
this
trend,
is one
absolutely.
more area where definitely people are looking towards it. That's one thing I will add to Matthews and overall panelists from that perspective. I wanted to touch that aspect because that is one of the
Awesome.
famous. I don't know whether you guys are aware, but this time in one of the Grammy Awards, it was one social short video which was shot on TikTok got awarded.
Yes.
And that brought a lot of things around from Netflix and everything that raised a lot of eyebrows there. So that is the level we are looking into it, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
The live, really quickly, just to add to that, the live streaming and the social selling are big in our world as well. We have a pretty social, like on the social media channels, a pretty active customer base, and so we're testing into some of the live streaming, and then where does that sit? When do you surface it? How does it drive sales, engagement? Like, what are your goals? So for sure. And then I will touch on Matthew, the dynamic pricing based on inventory. I mean, AI and planning and allocation, right? Like it seems like a no-brainer, but it's not something I think many are doing today, especially in my industry or the Chico's industry. So that's an area that we're looking at currently as well. And right today we surface sweaters to people that live in Florida, so maybe we can get better, and then we put sweaters in stores in Florida, right? Like, we probably don't need to do that. So really getting smart about that, and then automating it, right, so that I don't have to have an army of people kind of managing and figuring out what should this be priced at, where should it sit.
Absolutely. And finally, I just want to touch upon what's the future of our personalization with the privacy laws kicking in and all those things. We use all those technology like magic mirror, computer vision, face recognition, and all those things. And with all the challenges in terms of now face recognition may be legal, may not be legal, I'm not sure. But I think those are some of the privacy challenges that we are facing right now. So again, last question to all of you, and then probably we'll probably, since there are not many questions out there, we'll probably wrap it up. So Casey, we'll start with you on the future of personalization with all the challenges that we have.
I feel like the cookie apocalypse has been talked about for a long time now. So I'm like, is this the blizzard that's never going to come kind of thing? Is this actually happening? So now I think California, right, and New York are heavying up, and then you look at Sephora litigation that just got wrapped up in December, and everybody's scrambling to figure out what that even means, right? It's kind of vague and up to interpretation. However, I think from a privacy perspective, being a product manager is getting really hard, right? You've got ADA, you've got privacy, you have all these like legal things you have to just be aware of and figure out. But there's risk to your business. So I think the way that we're looking at this, obviously, is we, looking at our data, we aren't seeing a lot of people opt out of cookies, right? Like we launched it probably, it's been a while now. It's like a very small percentage are actually opting out when they hit our site of cookies. Now we only have it up for like, the required areas, but I think that people, if there's value in the targeting, they're willing to do it, right? So I'm not concerned, but we are preparing if there is a cookie apocalypse of, we look at zero party data and then we're looking at first party data, right? And then we are looking at strategies around how do I do quizzes, right? Because then that's data that's been given to me. I can attach to a customer profile. It's valuable and it helps. So looking at that. And then the other thing that I think our organization probably needs to start thinking about is, what retail media networks make sense for us, right? Because that's an opportunity and that's like a whole growing industry. Now we're a vertical retailer, so we don't sell multiple brands. So that's something that we could probably support. However, are there places where we can buy into retail media networks as opposed to, our standard Google marketing channels, our paid media marketing channels. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. We aren't super heavied up into it, but we are preparing with, ways that we could potentially collect that first party, zero party data from our customers.
Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about it already. I don't think there's a cookie apocalypse anytime soon. I think personalization is going to get simpler, if anything, meaning you're just going to personalize based on real time cues. Maybe it's going to be technographics, geographics, IP address lookups, things like that is where you're going to get most of the personalization and attributes about the customer, and layer that on in real time is where I think it's going to go.
Got it. Thank you. Taranum, last but not the least,
I think for some reason, I think we were anticipating a lot of these things in both of my previous organization, in Macy's and Lowe's. And I think there is a new term you will heard about it, cookieless platforms. So I think with this cookieless platforms, I will say it does solve the problem of cookies, which we are going to it. Generally, we should opt out of it because that also a little bit limit your technologies on how much data you wanted to share. Because with this new hyper personalization states where you have these each interaction points, and I wanted to make a decision, these cookieless platforms make it that easy for you to go. At the same time, it is taking the lot of dependency out of these and these privacy laws are not wrong from the perspective. Think about it. A lot of time I have seen third-party marketing data when they come. These data are sometimes sold in the market from that perspective. And in a lot of cases, in some cases, how that data is used and things around it, you cannot put a boundaries around it, because once it is in the hand of the people who are looking for how to monetize this data, it becomes really tough to actually monitor or govern it. So that is where I feel as a retailer, we also have a responsibility to make sure that these data we are making in a way where it's easy for the customer, but it's also secure from that side. So moving to the cookieless platforms, things around it, it's not a bad idea. That's my point of view. But I definitely agree with Cassie and Matthew both on that side that yes, from cookies perspective, it will take time for people to come out of it, because for big companies, it's easy to make that investment, but the companies who are wholesale actually dependent on these cookies will take some time. Even in fact, in a lot of like bots and SEOs, it is not easy to come out of those models very easy to go for it. So that's what I will say from privacy perspective.
Thank you. Thank you, Taranam. Thank you, everyone. So, guys who were listening to the conversation or the discussion, so we discussed everything from, let's say, personalization, which started from capturing the purchase history to what we are talking about, the emotion-based personalization, which it was a very good thing. So emotion-based, and we also had journeys of Nike, for example, 3D shoes modeling based on what. So I think we have come across a huge, I would say, a long journey of personalization. Are we mature right now? I don't think so. Not everybody feels that we are mature. There's a long way to go. There is a long way to cover from a business standpoint as well as the technology standpoint. The technology is changing, and so is the business. So probably we'll be sitting next year again, 1 year from now, having a similar kind of discussion with slightly more advanced topics on personalization. But it was pleasure having Casey, Matthew, and Tarunam on this panel discussion. It was a wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you. So just to wrap up, we would like to thank all our community partners, speakers, and attendees who took time and came together for enriching knowledge through this forum. We had such a lovely, absorbing discussion from Samir, from Taranam, from Matthew, from Casey. So great set of panel speakers. Just for your information, today's event was broadcasted in the YouTube page of our company. So all of you can go and see the recording anytime. Please log on to our website, like the social media channels. We'll be sharing a lot of knowledge sharing topics, details, announcement of next events, and much more, which will help you register and attend the quality events. Also, we'd like to thank InfoVision, which is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7 is a technology partner. To understand more in depth and connect with them, all of you can go through their website, which is infovision.com, and closely liaison with them. There are lots more in store for this year, with focus on banking, financial, insurance, telecom, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, energy, utility, and retail, of course. So request all of you to keep connected with us and enjoy the learning. Thanks, and do take good care of yourself. Have a lovely day and great weekend ahead. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.